So the opportunities, the deals, the risk and things that we would have taken before children versus after, so certainly while they're young, my risk tolerance is very different. And so in this timing, this season of life, I could be given a great deal and still not take it. And still not take it because the timing isn't right for where I'm at, what I'm willing to give and do and sacrifice. Hey, look, life is not easy. Anything good worth having isn't easy, but add to that the complexity of being an entrepreneur, being married, having children. We have done a lot of things right. We've made a few $1,000,000. We probably lost a few $1,000,000. We made some mistakes along the way, but one thing that we are really good at is relationships.
That's right. We have been together for almost 2 decades.
And we've been through hell and back together.
Yeah, we have. And we used to think that we were the only ones like us out there.
But, especially in our entrepreneurial ventures, we started meeting other ride or die couples that were going through the exact same things that we were going through. And they kept coming to us talking about advice and looking for solutions and really ways to help their relationship thrive. So we just knew there had to be a tribe of us out there. There's no way we could be the only ones out there.
We are getting real and raw, guys.
That's what he said.
Oh my God, babe. From dating to marriage to kids and even sex.
Even how to fight the right way.
We're going to be committed to being open and honest with you because we believe in your relationship too. Welcome to the Ride or Die podcast.
Hey, hey.
Hey.
This week we're talking about when to walk away from a deal. This was inspired by actually a post and a conversation about real estate, when to know when to walk away from a real estate deal. But it actually got us talking about really any deal, walking away from a situation in business. So we thought, or maybe it's if you're employed, maybe it's when to walk away from that job. And
yeah,
so on.
That's a good one too. Yeah, so we put down our thoughts of when to walk away from that deal, that job. I mean, you can even say that relationship, but we're talking mostly business today, so we're not going to err more on the relationship side. But these same things, these same exact things that we're going to talk about today could apply to relationships too. But we're talking business, so let's get into it. The biggest thing that the immediate one is that it doesn't fit into your plan, right?
How many times have we had to walk away from a deal?
A lot of times. I thought there was more to that sentence.
No, I'm saying like give them some context. Like take them into our life because they may be able to relate to a time in their life where it's a little easier.
I think the biggest thing that's helped us walk away from deals, which has been a lot, and sometimes we get involved in them not fully knowing the whole context of what's involved, which is, ended up, at least we got the experience, but we realized it wasn't the right fit, is because we know what we want and we know what our goals are. And I do feel like a lot of the times that people feel like they're stuck in something or they're unhappy is because they don't actually know what the hell they want. They don't have a goal. And so for us,
they're like, hey, I don't know where I'm going, but you know where you're going, so let me just hitch my wagon to that.
Right, and I know there's been times for us in the past where it's really, especially when you're starting to grow a business and stuff, the urge to jump at every opportunity that comes your way is real. That's real. It's like, oh, who knows if that could be the right one. That could be, well, what if that's the one that makes this big, blah, blah, blah. Like you had that complex for a while. You're like, I just need to figure out how to do it all because you don't know. That could be the one, and I used to want to go crazy. We just need to focus. And every single time it always came back to the same thing. What do we want? What are we wanting in our life and our relationship for our future family? Because this was a lot of the times before we got married too. We used to have we have been having these same conversations every time a big opportunity comes our way. How does this fit into our life plan? And if it fits, we'll take the next step in figuring out if we're going to move forward with something. And if it doesn't fit, we say no and we move on. And it's like, dodged a bullet on that one. And sometimes we get into it and we realize, oh shit, this isn't what we thought it was. Or our plans change and our life changes and we don't, you can't feel like you're stuck in something at that point either, just because you already committed to it. Like if your plans change and your life changes, it's okay to change gears and realize that opportunity maybe just fit for a season and doesn't fit anymore.
Right. That's a big writer downer. You just kind of breezed over it, but
apparently the
whenever you
big
get,
hitters, I just like
whenever
run
you
over.
get, whenever you find yourself in a business deal, an opportunity, a job, whatever situation, even in your personal family life, ask yourself that, what do I want? Like over again, like what do I want? I'm struggling right now. Why? What do I want? We reached that point in our marketing business where I realized after having kids, what I wanted prior to kids was very different. It was all about preparing us financially and putting us in the home and everything so that we'd be ready for kids. Like we would be ready to give our kids a lifestyle and security that we didn't have, or certainly that I didn't have. So that was the only focus. It was very financially driven until we had kids. Then I found myself like, wait a second, I have everything that I want, but I'm being starved of this time and this flexibility and things that what I want changed, and I want more for my family now in terms of time and energy over finances. And so temporarily we had to make a shift to give that time and energy back
temporary
to the family.
shift, because I said I'll take a temporary shift on our finances, but I won't take a permanent shift on our finances. So if we're going to switch gears so that you're a happier human being, I'm all for that. I don't want you to die from a heart attack at 40 because you were unhappy with your life. However, there's things that mama wants to, and mama had kids, but I still like nice things. I still like my trips. And so we had to kind of like learn and figure out how to do that all, right? But at the time, those opportunities and stuff can shift based on your plans. So know what your goals are and know what your plans are. And you can have a little bit of, like, we have some individual goals, but most of our goals are together. And even if they're more individual, we're still backing each other up and figuring out how we get everything we want. That's super important. When we look at opportunities, that's always how we're judging it off of.
Earlier example was working at ACC. Like, their plan for me was a 30-year plan, right?
Oh, God,
corporate,
yes.
get the gold watch. My plan was, my
Climb the
mom's
corporate
dying,
ladder.
and I want to start a family and not be broke and waiting 30 years to enjoy my life. So,
oh God, how about
your plan and my plan don't align.
And
so
how about the fact that he had to drive like an hour and a half to the office, and then he had to drive an hour and a half like from the
biggest
office.
thing was the plan. It wasn't lined up with what
we wanted.
So had to walk away from what most would consider
a really
great,
good deal at 19.
Right.
Right. Okay. So another one that hits us a lot. Is it too risky? What's your risk factor? What's your threshold for pain if you took the risk? But many times, like, this is how you can relate it a lot to real estate. We're used to analyzing every deal. We've adjusted the way we analyze our deals over time, and we're pretty damn good at it now. So we know, like, if something's going to profit or not, and why, and should we wholesale a deal or rehab a deal based on what our potential profit is. And if it doesn't hit a certain profit margin, we'll move on, or we'll wholesale it, or we'll say no to the deal, right? So we have
walk away if it's too risky?
I say yes. We have certain systems and metrics in place to ensure we don't lose a lot of money in business. So why wouldn't you do the same thing when you're taking time to analyze an opportunity or something and figure out if it's the right fit for you? Analyze it the same way you would a real estate deal, right?
Right.
What's the risk versus the reward? Is it too risky to take this? What is your threshold for it? We've done...
What are you potentially giving up? Like, what are you potentially losing? You know, it's like, oh, this job could make me $1 million next year. Okay, but does it mean for a whole year maybe you're going to miss all these games and you're not going to be able to be at the family reunion, and you're going to, work, you're not going to come home until 9 o'clock at night. So for all that time, you're
I think I have a better
sacrificing
example.
Family.
I feel like a lot of people aren't super inspired by time with family as much as they are. An initial motivator with making a business decision is based off of money usually, not necessarily time. Because let's face it, you can talk till you're blue in the face about how much you value your time with your family, but you are a workhorse, and you will work, and you will put in the time to work and then figure out how to make the time that you have with family even more quality. So I don't really love using that as an example. So let's just use like money. Let's say we're getting into an opportunity that it looks like we're going to make a certain amount of money. And then we get into the scenario, we'll even take the risk. We've done this 100 times. We've taken risks where they end up being very fruitful, totally worth the risk. We weren't really sure whether this would pan out or not, and we start getting into the motion and realize, yes, this is going to profit, awesome, and we're excited. There's other times we've gotten into opportunities where it looks like we're going to do really well, and then like we're not making the amount of money or something that we thought we would by a certain time. Well, that becomes risky at that point. So like know what, even if you're gonna take, let's say it's just too unsure, but you really want to do it anyway, and you're willing to take the risk, the second
Put a deadline on it.
Right.
Put a milestone.
That's what we do. We used to do things with no deadlines, no milestones, no metrics to base our decisions off of. And it used to bite us in the ass a lot. But then over time we started going, okay, well, especially like if you want to do something with career driven, or I want to do something with like a family driven direction, it's kind of like, okay, well, what's our timeline on it? And what do we expect to see by this time? And it doesn't have to be clear cut, black and white. If we don't see it by then, we shift directions. But we need to see pretty darn close to it, or can see it in the distance, that finish line that we're looking to achieve by that certain amount of time, or we will change gears. And what I would say has been our greatest strength and asset as a couple, so this is really important for you guys out there that are married or you make these decisions together, is that you guys do set these metrics, because those decisions become so much easier when a couple is going into an opportunity or a decision or a job decision or a business decision on the same team with the same expectations, because then when you're not seeing them fulfilled, it's like, okay, we already know what to do. We already know how to switch gears or change our plans or whatever to accommodate the way we were feeling, before we took an opportunity. So it's really helped us as a couple just stay that much more united and strengthen our relationship for the occasion that we do a bad deal. Not every deal is perfect, right? How about it's not the right people or timing? I feel like this one's an obvious one, but I'll say at the beginning of a business, for us, we didn't think about the people we were working with. It really was more based around money. And I want to argue now that we've had a lot more experience and stuff in the business, that the first thing we look at now is who will we be working with. And it's always hard to tell somebody's character when you first meet them, and are they going to be the same person? Everybody goes through that new relationship phase where things are a little bit more
honeymoon
fluffy.
Phase.
Yeah, I don't like
Puppy
to say
love.
honeymoon. Yeah, it is the honeymoon phase, but I don't really like that term because we never even went on a honeymoon, and we took forever to get married, so it's like a weird term for me. But
The point
right
is,
people,
it's a very optimistic time in any new relationship.
Yeah.
It's
you're
a very
courting each other.
optimistic time. You're also maybe not showing yourself fully. They're not showing themselves fully. And then once you get comfortable, then it's like, oh, okay, there's the bad habit or the negative tendency or the whatever.
But it's okay to notice that somebody might not be the right person to work with beforehand, and that's something that we took too many years in our business. That was one mistake we made repeatedly over and over, was looking too much at the financial opportunity and getting excited for it and jumping in as we were building our business, where now we're really looking at the people more. Sometimes that could be a facade until you get into things, but many times you can have a pretty good judge of character before you get into something. And if you get a feeling that it's not the right person to work with, it probably isn't. So,
or if your wife gets the wrong feeling, because they just have a special intuition.
Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay. So let's move on to numbers really fast before we talk about feelings.
Hang on. Let's say timing too.
Okay, timing.
Right?
Yeah.
So the opportunities, the deals, the risk and things that we would have taken before children versus after, so certainly while they're young, my risk tolerance is very different. Mm-hmm. And so in this timing, this season of life, I could be given a great deal and still not take it. And still not take it because the timing isn't right for where I'm at and what I'm willing to give and do and sacrifice. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I want to say that this is going to become more bigger. I'm so eloquent with my words today. This is going to become more obvious and stuff as you gain more experience in your careers or your businesses or even your job, and your skill set gets bigger and you become more valuable to people, because more opportunities will start arising then. And we've noticed that a lot in the last few years with Brandon. Like, he's spent so many years in marketing and now has all this experience in real estate, and he's run a business for over 10 years. So this is
15.
For 15 years. I said over 10. So he has a massive amount of value that he can give a company now compared to when he was, 17, right? And we first met, and he was just like selling PlayStations out of a trunk. Like, he still had those qualities in there, but he didn't have near the experience that he has now and near the knowledge that he has now. So it's interesting, because as you become more skillful in the stuff you're going to do, you're going to have more opportunities arise. Like, people are trying to poach Brandon all the time. He has opportunities come his way quite often. And it is weird. Like, we do have to say no to a lot of them, because we know that it's not fitting in our plan, or it's not the right timing. But it's interesting, like, you'll see, like, as you guys have more success or just go through life changes or just have experience, or you already are aware of this, that it's just weird to see those opportunities come up, and it's like, okay, you're just more aware of it, so you can make these decisions a lot faster. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the numbers not adding up. This isn't always easy to see the whole picture with new opportunities, but especially in business, Brandon and I are really big on needing to see numbers before we commit to things, because if we don't see it in the numbers we need or want or desire, those opportunities are so much easier to say no to. And our threshold for pain has, it's been raised financially to a certain bar. Like, we won't get into a deal that's gonna, that's only gonna make us $1,000, right? It's not enough for us anymore. So we do have to look at numbers. And one note that I wrote down is that it's very easy for someone to fudge numbers to make a deal look more attractive. So don't be afraid to ask for things. Like, I feel like we've never been really more on the pushing. Well, I guess we have with hiring team and stuff, but I feel like for the most part, we go and we seek out clients, or we seek out better opportunities to go work with people, or you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Somewhat. You're
versus
starting to lose me a little bit.
Well, instead of running a company where everybody's just coming to us all the time, we're kind of the ones going to companies. And so, like, they already have a situation in place, or their numbers are better than ours, so we're joining forces. But if we're not looking at the numbers and we're not aware of numbers, the opportunity might not be a good one. It might just sound really good, but you don't really know until you're looking at the numbers.
Let's
are black
just
and white.
Simplify this and take it back to the real estate example.
Okay.
Right? If the numbers don't add up on a real estate deal, right, you're buying it for this price, and you got to put this much money into it, and then you have the costs of selling it and realtor fees and closing costs and everything. If the numbers don't add up, you don't do the deal. It's very unemotional.
Right.
Like, I could meet the greatest person in business who wants to give me this great opportunity, and I love them and I love their product, but I met them, they're too early, right? They're maybe too new of a startup. And it's like, I love your passion, I like you, I like the mission that you're on, but you're so early in the business, you don't have enough capital. This is going to be like a 5-year runway. Like, it's not a good fit. The numbers don't add up right now, because what it would cost for me to join this mission would be too expensive. It wouldn't be worth it in this time. So come see me in 5 years.
Yeah,
right?
We'll walk away from the deal when that happens. And also, don't feel stuck. Sometimes you'll make a decision and then be like, oops, wrong one. But don't feel stuck. I know I put that as a note just because when I was thinking about the numbers not adding up, we've been in situations where you've jumped into a deal thinking it's a good deal. Mm-hmm. You may have even seen some numbers and still thought it was a good deal. And then after a little bit of time, you realize it's just not a good deal. It's not a good fit. And in the past, I've seen you do this. It's not to call out your flaws, but you're such a good guy. You're like, well, let's just write it out a little longer or whatever, almost to our, to our demise, or not demise, but it's hurt us by staying in an opportunity versus moving on. to something bigger and better and something that was more along with our plans and our life goals. So, and I know that's just like something in you that you're just like a good guy. You don't want to just leave things hanging or whatever.
Part of it was scarcity, though. In the beginning of our business, for a lot of those early years, it was like, oh, I felt so like grateful and fortunate and lucky to be to have the opportunities that were coming my way. But that served me early on, but it actually started to hurt me later on when I did have the track record, I did have the experience, I did have the network. And anytime an opportunity came across my plate, it would be like, this might be the last one for a while. And that's a bad place to, like, I got to stick with this because I don't know where the next one could be. And the sooner you can get away from that thinking, the sooner you realize the opportunity of a lifetime comes around every 24 hours.
Yep.
There are so many opportunities, especially if you are a hard worker and you invest in yourself and you surround yourself with good people. It happens seemingly overnight where it's like, oh, so-and-so is actually looking for a service you provide, or it's like you get referrals or you get invited to something that all of a sudden there's another deal, there's another opportunity. So don't have that
stuck mentality,
fearful mentality that I had for so many years. Like, you're never stuck. And there is, in this country, so many opportunities.
Amen to that. All right. Let's go back to these feelings that we were talking about before.
Feelings? I feel like that's
Ariana
Grande.
I don't know the song. So.
No, I'm thinking feelings.
See, we're both like singing. It's like we're singing different songs, but it sounds exactly
Ariana
the same.
Grande song.
That with feelings.
Yeah.
Oh, so deep in my feelings.
There
that
you
one.
Go.
That's not Ariana. I can't think of her name, but Boot Up.
Yeah. There you go.
Love that song. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Do you want to sing that for me one more time? How'd it go? Okay. All right. Feelings. Let's talk about feelings for a minute. It's more like gut instinct or observations, but Brandon calls them feelings. It's probably why they bite us in the ass every time, because he thinks I'm just feeling something. Because I'll say like, oh, I don't really feel like it's the right deal. But what I'm really saying is I've observed things that are giving me an intuition that this may not be the best move for us.
Bad vibes.
What else do we have on the table right now before we go jumping into this opportunity?
This is a constant point of friction still after 18 years.
Oh my gosh, yes, because I'm usually right. So
it
really sucks when we have to go move forward with an opportunity.
It's a weird balance because
he's just lucky I'm so patient.
You need to be optimistic, but you also but it can very much feel like I'm the positive one. I see the good in everything,
and I'm always looking to poke the holes.
She's always finding everything wrong. Within minutes, I could be like, "Babe, I just won the lottery. We got $5 million." She'd be like, "Are you sure? Did you double check the numbers? Is that fake? Is it like it'd be like?"
Oh, but now we're gonna have somebody's
going
gonna come asking us for money tomorrow, or yes, I will.
Right.
I'll start poking holes.
It's like, whoa, can we just have 10 minutes of like celebrating and enjoying before you start poking holes and stuff?
So I have a tendency to want to protect us so hard, and like just knowing that you're such a good guy and you've been taken advantage of many times in business, and hang
on, and I gotta give a disclaimer because it's so not true. What that does is it says it's everybody else's fault that certain things have happened in our business
I'm just
career,
saying you're a nice
which
guy.
is not true.
I'm not saying it's
I'm not
everybody's
a victim
fault.
I'm not a victim of everybody stepping on me. I just make it.
No,
I just give people a lot more grace.
I
give people a lot more grace because I sleep better at night.
Okay.
Knowing that I gave.
I'm not saying that it's everybody else's fault. It's our fault when we do those opportunities. What I'm saying is that feeling you get when you feel like you've been stepped on is not a good one, and it's not one that I like to experience with my man. So over time, I've gotten really good at being on the defense when something comes his way, because I think you're a bright, shiny object to everybody. Everybody likes to be around you. Everybody sees the value that you could put into their business, and so they want it. They want it, they see it, they want it, they see it, they want it, they see it, they want it, and they want it for the best damn deal. So it can be frustrating for me as a wife to go, hang on, let's step back, let's look at this. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? And really, I'm just taking in all the information to just make a really smart decision with him. He sees it as like feelings, but when I meet somebody, I just kind of know. Or I hear them say certain things and I could tell whether it's the right person I want to be around or not. Or I see how they treat their wife and go, ugh, like, gosh, we got into business for a very short blip. I mean, like 3 months with some guy that was like cheating on his wife. And we didn't know he was cheating on his wife. And then we found out he was cheating on his wife. And I immediately, I was like, red flag, like, we can't continue working with this person, because if they don't even value their wife, they're not going to value the relationship they have with you. And so obviously after a few months that all fucking crumbled, because I'm swearing, sorry, because, right, like that just was not, these gut feelings about people though are like a real deal for me. And Brandon, I know, struggles with it because he's so analytical. He's looking at like numbers and gains and all this other stuff. And
what it also allows me to do is ignore things, right? I'm so focused on the facts and numbers, which is great in business, but unfortunately every business has humans behind it. And so like if you can't work with the people, or if there are potential character flaws or value flaws or what have you, then that is just a potential ticking time bomb. So Sam's good at not ignoring the things that I would probably overlook. She just gets a sense for people. And I'm not saying you follow that every single time, but you need to give weight to it. You need to say, okay, I get that you got a bad feeling about this, or something rubs you the wrong way. Here's a compromise. Mm-hmm. Let's do this for this amount of time.
If we
don't see this very hard, real, income or deal flow or whatever, if we don't see this tangible thing or close to it by about this time, then okay, you win. We're
it's not about winning.
We're gonna go. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and start, making adjustments, because that will be the milestone where I say, okay, maybe your intuition was right from the very beginning.
And so here's 2 things. I'm scribbling my notes so I don't forget. 2 things with that I think are super important for husband and wives, and then we'll wrap up here. Because you can have all the tuition in the world and still take on the opportunity. Brandon was saying that. Sometimes I do get a bad feeling about something and we will do it anyway. I think I have enough facts to back it up, but Brandon's he still wants the opportunity, and I want to support my husband, so I'll do it, like if he's excited about something, I want to be excited for him. I don't want to be like that down wife that's just like, no, all the time. So sometimes it's just like, okay, we are really good at setting very much smaller timelines than we used to on things to see if they're going to work for us or not, and we are quicker to walk away. With that said, there's 2 very important rules that we both take that I think are very important to point out, because it's so easy to just say, like, if you're not feeling it, move on. Or even if you're not feeling it and you do it anyway, like, have a deadline and then move on. Like, that's still, we still both have to embody something when we make that decision, and I just want to share that with you really fast. So sometimes we are in situations where we decide to do something anyway, even though I'm not really feeling it. Now, I will still be looking for red flags. It's just naturally in me, or whatever, or trying to look for more facts to back up what I did, what I observed beforehand. However, when we commit to moving forward with something and we have set a guideline, I have a responsibility as Brandon's wife to now support him on that decision that he wanted to move forward with, okay? So I will support him. I don't complain all the time. I'll complain, but I won't complain all the time. And I have to give him the ability to succeed in it and not always be looking for, the wrong things to happen. But when something does arise or something comes up that might throw up a red flag, just be really like graceful in my communication and go, hey, that's something that we talked about before. Keep an eye on that, or make sure this doesn't happen, or whatever, like, because I'm protective of Brandon and I love him and I want him to be successful in everything he does. Now, at the same respect, there's something very important that Brandon does in these scenarios when we don't necessarily fully agree on a direction we're moving in, and let's say we do move in something that's more Brandon's favor, and just swap the roles around. Sometimes we go things totally in my favor, and he will totally support me on it, looking for potential red flags or whatever, but he'll support me, and it does go both ways. Now there's that other flip side. We move on to something that he wants to do. We're looking, potentially for red flags, but we're committed and we're moving forward with something. We hit a deadline like we agreed to. We're not really seeing things. We're not really seeing that finish line. And Brandon says that when we get to this point, we'll move on, and he will stick to it. And
not a finish line, more of a checkpoint.
The checkpoint, yeah. Like, we're not seeing the milestones at least, or we can't see them in the near future. We just see, like, maybe this will always be a constant battle, or the opportunity is just not there like we thought it was. But we hit that deadline to sit back down and reassess it together as a couple, and it is not there. He is really, really, really good at sticking to his word. And I think that creates such a big trust in our relationship. And I want to encourage all men, especially like if you're more the provider in the household and you're the man and you're more of the provider, and you sit down and you make decisions with your wife, that you commit to them and you stick to them, because that's huge. I will basically do anything more or less for Brandon in any realm, since I'm not financially the main breadwinner in the house. I can make money. I can go make money anytime, and I have an easy time doing it, except for all these life things that I said I wanted to do that were more important to me, like being a mom and a wife. But since he's more the financial breadwinner, I do have to kind of steer a little bit more in business and be okay with decisions he wants to make, even if I'm not feeling it, right? But when he went, okay, so what is our threshold for pain? What is our deadline? What would we like to see? And I'll tell you, if it's not there, he will walk away. He will commit. He sticks to his word. And it's crazy the amount of trust that builds in a relationship.
Definitely builds trust, because the more I've done that over the last few years, the faster
we make decisions.
I get less friction when we do have a turning point where we're like, all right, wait, we need to make a decision, or we need to switch gears on something. There was a lot more friction in the past because I wanted to be right. I just wanted you to see my view and then agree with me, which was a lot harder than agreeing to these checkpoints, trying it, and then being willing to walk away or make adjustments.
And I believe that ultimately all these things help us when we're making the next opportunity or the next business decision or anything like that in our careers, because we get to a certain point where then it's like, okay, we're always looking for new opportunities anyway, like, right? We're in real estate, so another lead equals another deal. That's another opportunity. And when we're looking at a new house to buy, it's like, well, is this opportunity better than one that might come up in a day or a week? And like a great example is, do we rehab this house or do we wholesale this house? And we always think about, like, we don't want a slow dime for a quick penny. Is that the saying or something?
A quick nickel beats a slow dime.
There you go. So like, we don't want to say like we're going to rehab a house for only $15,000 in profit, and it took 90 days, when we could have just wholesaled 4, 5, 6 properties and made more than the $15,000, because we can see the opportunity is there and we're jumping on the next opportunity instead. So just it helps create that trust in a relationship. And then he also listens more than he used to, more than he used to in the earlier days in our business, from when I get these gut checks, just because we've gone through them so many times, that now he's like, okay, if she's getting a bad feeling about it, let's just stick. What is bothering Sam about this? And let's see if we can put out that flame or put out that fire, or put some more ease for her in making the decision. And he's more like, he takes a more active role in making me feel better about doing situations that I don't really feel good about, right? Like, you do listen more. If we're sitting down and looking at an opportunity, I will try to poke every hole through it. And then he will go, okay, let's, I'm like the objection queen of everything that we're going to do. And so he already knows, like, okay, Sam's going to have all these objections, and let's start, like, check that one off the list. Here you go. Instead of arguing with me and just saying, like, we need to just do this. It's now like,
right. In the past, they would be like, don't address those concerns. We'll get those red flags.
Well, you used
those
to
concerns
say, just
answered over the next year or two.
Trust me. And I'd be like, I trust you, but I don't trust everybody else. So, I always trust you, but I don't.
So what's one action they can do this week? Something, if they're considering walking away from a a job, an opportunity, a relationship.
Well, let's just run through these again. Check out if it fits your plan. If it doesn't, you probably want to consider walking away.
If you don't have a plan, sit down and ask yourself, what do you want 1,000 times?
Yeah.
And be clear on that.
Yeah.
'Cause if you don't know where you're going,
how are you going to get there?
you're never going to get there.
Oh my gosh, we're so silly. We used to always finish each other's sentences, even back in the earlier days. Okay, is it too risky? If it seems too risky, it probably is. If you feel like if you made the wrong move and it didn't work out in your favor, would you seriously beat yourself up over it? You probably shouldn't do those.
Or would you lose your marriage or lose your family or
and is that important
lose your
to
house?
you? That should be important to you, right?
That's too risky.
Yeah. We have definitely not made business decisions because Brandon was going to have to be like on the road all the time. That becomes too risky for us. We don't want to spend our whole life separated from each other. Big pain spot. Okay. It's not the right people or timing. If the timing isn't right, it's okay. If it's meant to be, it's going to be there later. If it's not the right people, they're never going to be the right people then. So just look for better people, more people that are aligned with your interests and stuff. The numbers don't add up. An immediate red flag is if you can't even see the numbers before you get into it, it's probably not the right fit. But especially as like for any newbies watching this or any couples that are just getting into their own business or looking for that next promotion at their job, like if you can't see the numbers to see if it fits your plan, it might not be the right opportunity. Sometimes you can't see the numbers right away, so just remember if you get into an opportunity, set your deadlines, set your milestones, and make sure that those numbers, it may not be a hard win at a 3-month mark, but after 90 days, what would you at least want to be close to? So you're either already hitting that goal or you see it in the finish line. And then if you don't, have your plan B, be ready to move on. Okay, and then the last one was you have your gut instincts. If you're not feeling it, you don't have a good feeling about it, it's probably not the best fit. And sometimes in relationships, obviously with Brandon and myself, are so opposite. That'll vary, and I'll think something's not the right fit, and he'll want to do it. And usually I just have to surrender when he's like really gung-ho on it and figure out okay, how do we make this the best opportunity for us right now? And I'll tell you, I'm always looking out for you. I've always got your back, so It doesn't matter regardless whether we make a mistake or we make a win. We have plenty of wins in our relationships and businesses and stuff too. We have a lot of good people in our life.
Yeah.
A lot of good opportunities have come our way. We've had a lot of wins, so it's good. It's a good feeling to know that we've got each other's back, and that's like the main thing. If you guys have each other's backs, you will get through anything. Yep, good and bad. I don't make it sound like it's all bad, right? But you'll have opportunities come your way that you make the decision together and it works out. And then you're like, holy cow, it just makes you that much stronger and that much more of an unbeatable power couple. Were those enough? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. Well, you come back and see us next week. Make sure to check us out on Instagram. I'm at Brandon and Sam. He's at Brandon T. Middleton. And then we have our at Ride or Die Couples, which is just our growing Ride or Die Couples tribe. So check us out. Come back, see us next week. I have no clue what we're talking about, but I'm sure we'll have something good. So
we're going on a cruise, so we will have all kinds of things to catch up on.
All fun stuff, yep. Anyway, We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.